Hey y'all, my name is Tanny and I love to cook. Today I'm going to show you how I make a delicious recipe in my Instant Pot pressure cooker. Today y'all, we're making neck bones, pork neck bones. I know, don't click off the video. A lot of people are going to be like, ooh, neck bones. But let me tell you something. If you like oxtails, these neck bones are going to be so flavorful and so tender. When you make this recipe and taste it, you're going to be saying to yourself, ooh, this tastes like an expensive cut of meat. Who needs an oxtail? Who needs to buy an oxtail plate at these prices? You can make these neck bones for a fraction of the cost, and I promise you it will be more delicious. Let's get to cooking. These are the neck bones. I had to go to several different stores to find these on this particular day. So I have a couple of different brands, and I like to mix regular neck bones with smoked neck bones for the additional flavor profile, but I couldn't find smoked neck bones anywhere. So I had this pack of smoked pigtails in my freezer that I decided to use. For the same effect, you could also use a smoked ham hock. So in total, I had about 7 or 8 packs of meat that I cooked up. First things first, we're going to wash our meat and let it soak in the water before we cook it. I know a lot of people haven't tried pork neck bones, but I'm here to tell you if you like pork or any kind of meat, you will love these neck bones. They're meaty and super tender with this recipe, and we're adding just the right amount of seasonings and aromatics. To season, I'm starting off with my big stainless steel bowl, and I'm going to use an oven bag. I use these things for everything, but they're great to just avoid a mess in my bowl and make sure everything is mixed up correctly. So I'm adding a couple of pieces, several pieces, one layer of the neck bones to the bag, and then I'm going to layer my seasonings on. I'm starting with the smoked paprika. This is made by McCormick. I need this in a big bottle because I use a lot of this. You'll notice I'm keeping my left hand clean for the seasonings, and then my right hand has a glove on to touch the meat. I'm using Badia Complete Seasoning. So I'm layering the seasoning in the bag as well as the clean meat in the colander. I'm adding thyme. I love using dried herbs. They add a complexity without added sodium, which is awesome and delicious. Next up is my seasoning salt, which does have sodium, but a little bit of salt is always necessary. Well, usually necessary for my taste buds, I'll say. Next up is black pepper. Both in the bag and on the other side. Onion powder. There's no sodium in this, but there are carbs in onion powder and garlic powder. So if you're watching your carbs, you want to be sure to count the carbs in your seasonings as well. Sometimes it's easy to overlook, and this is the garlic powder. So now I'm just going to continue to add the meat to the bag, and as I get past the meat that's been seasoned, I'm just going to add more layers of seasoning in. This is a pigtail, y'all. So the smoked meat is a little bit darker than the regular meat. You'll notice the same thing if you used a smoked neck bone or a smoked ham hock or a smoked turkey wing. The smoked meat is fattier, so it adds a little extra oomph to the broth and the flavor of the final dish. So I definitely would add in at least 1 or 2 pieces of the smoked meat. And so here I'm just adding in, my additional layers of seasoning. Now that I have all my meat mixed in the bag, I'm going to mix it with my gloved hand to make sure every piece is coated in the seasoning. And we're doing this the night before so that the seasonings can marinate in our neck bones overnight. This adds an incredible amount of flavor, and you don't want to skip this step. So now I'm just going to tie up my bag. Please click like on this video and subscribe to my channel. I am on my journey to my first 100 subscribers, and I would love for you to be included. It's the next day, so now I have my Instant Pot ready to go, my electric pressure cooker, and I'm going to add my meat. You can see all of the seasonings that have dug deep down into these neck bones. And this is pigtail, smoked pigtail. Lots of flavor. The aroma is incredible. Now, these pigtails look like something I've seen before, but I don't know quite what. Leave me a comment down in the comment section and let me know what these look like to you. So I'm just gonna keep adding my meat, and look at all of the seasoning, the paprika, the thyme. It's just amazing. These pieces of neck bone are so meaty and flavorful. So it's delicious for a Sunday meal or a weeknight meal because this recipe doesn't take long in the pressure cooker. Lastly, I'm gonna add in a half an onion, about a quarter of a bell pepper. I'm using a mix of red, orange, and yellow that I had from a previous recipe. You can certainly use more. You just want to keep your aromatics or your vegetables in proportion to the amount of meat you use. And then I'm also adding in chicken broth for additional flavor. I had just a small amount of broth, so I added water to this. So you can't use plain water since we have so much seasoning, but chicken broth or beef broth will work equally well. And there is a line inside the Instant Pot that you shouldn't go over with your liquids. Your meat definitely does not have to be covered in liquid to cook. So that's what I just tilted mine over to see. And you can see before I close it up, the liquid does not cover my meat by any sort. So I'm gonna cook my neck bones on high pressure for 45 minutes. And then once it finished cooking for 45 minutes, I let it sit and let the pressure naturally release for another 30-40 minutes. It just adds a little additional cooking time and lets it get a little bit more tender. I tend to do this with everything I cook in my Instant Pot actually. So this is how it looked with the bell peppers and onions and the meat. Awesome. So this is already cooked and it sat here for I believe 36-37 minutes. And now I'm just hitting the little lever to let this extra steam come out. It makes a loud sound. And then I take the lid off and you can see the liquid that builds in it as you cook. It didn't overflow, it didn't explode because I didn't go over the initial measurement line for liquid. So that's really important in a pressure cooker. So next up is to take my meat out and plate it up. I steamed some green beans with some garlic and onion powder, and look how delicious this looks. These are pork neck bones with bell peppers, onions, and garlic steamed green beans. This was so delicious. My family really enjoyed it. Thank you for watching my video. Please subscribe and look out for my next video. Thank you so much.